You are standing on a beach 65,000 years ago, somewhere in what is now Indonesia. Across the water, invisible, over the horizon, is a continent no human has ever seen. You cannot swim there, you cannot walk there, and yet somehow someone is about to leave, and they are never coming back. The story most of us absorbed growing up goes something like this. Humans invented farming, then villages, then eventually somebody built a raft to go fishing. Boats feel like a late-stage invention. In 2016, researchers led by Thomas Sutikna and Adam Brum confirmed stone tools on Flores, dated to at least 700,000 years ago and possibly as old as 1.02 million years, were made by a hominin that had crossed open water to get there. Not modern humans, Homo erectus, a species that predates Homo sapiens by well over 1 million years. Flores was never connected to the Asian mainland. The strait separating it from its nearest neighbor was somewhere between 19 and 24 kilometers wide. The first theory says Homo erectus got lucky. A tsunami or cyclone tore loose a mat of vegetation, and the current did the rest. Accidental rafting. The second theory is more unsettling. It says Homo erectus deliberately built something and paddled it into open water on purpose. Archaeologist Mike Morwood argued that reaching Flores wasn't a single lucky crossing. It required enough coordination that some primitive version of language must have existed. Linguist Rudolf Botha pushed back hard, arguing that nature does not need language to move a creature across a strait. No boat from this period has ever been found, and none ever will. Wood does not survive 1 million years. Now fast forward to a crossing almost nobody debates the intelligence behind. Somewhere between 65,000 and 50,000 years ago, Homo sapiens made a journey that dwarfs anything Homo erectus attempted. At some point on that route, they faced a stretch of open ocean at least 90 kilometers wide, with no land visible on either horizon. Majid Bebe, a rock shelter excavated by a team led by Chris Clarkson, produced stone artifacts and ground ochre dated to roughly 65,000 years old. Genetic studies estimated the founding population at somewhere between 72 and 100 people who successfully made the crossing and survived to reproduce. Moving that many people across 4 to 7 days of open sea requires provisioning. It requires a vessel large enough to carry dozens of people plus food and fresh water. The odds of randomly reaching Sahel on any single crossing were below 5%. The math itself argues for intention. The oldest confirmed boat on Earth is not from Southeast Asia at all. It's from a peat bog in the Netherlands. In 1955, a construction worker building a highway near the village of Pes uncovered what he assumed was a rotting log. A local farmer named Hendrik Wanders thought it looked unusual enough to take to the University of Groningen. What they had was a dugout canoe, radiocarbon dated to somewhere between 8040 and 7510 BC, roughly 10,000 years old. You take a log, you burn or chip away the interior, you shape the outside into something that displaces water. Just subtraction. A dugout canoe from Nigeria dates to roughly 6000 BC. Dugouts from China date to around 6000 BC. Denmark, 5000 BC. Florida, 7,000 years old. Nobody taught these cultures the technique. But a dugout log only gets you so far. Stable on a river, genuinely dangerous in open ocean swells. Starting around 3,000 years ago, Austronesian-speaking cultures developed the outrigger canoe, which solved the single biggest problem with any narrow boat. It stopped capsizing in open swell. Without that fix, every one of those Pacific voyages ends the same way. There is no rescue. There is no shoreline. From there came double-hulled voyaging canoes, capable of carrying dozens of people, livestock, and enough food and water for weeks at sea. They solved navigation without a single instrument using a system called wayfinding, reading ocean swells, tracking stars, watching the flight paths of land-nesting birds. Get any one of those signals wrong on a multi-week crossing, and you don't find out until the water runs out. Using nothing but that system, Polynesian navigators settled Hawaii, Easter Island, and New Zealand, a triangle of ocean covering roughly 10 million square miles. Reed boats show up independently in ancient Egypt, in Mesopotamia, and on Lake Titicaca in South America. 3 civilizations, no contact between any of them. Skin boats developed independently among Arctic peoples building kayaks and umiaks, and among ancient Irish and Welsh boat builders lashing together curraghs. The probability that boat building traces back to one single point of origin is close to 0. Realistically, under 5%. A boat is the oldest argument our species ever made against a boundary. It says the water is not a wall. It is a road we haven't built yet. Tonight, somewhere on this planet, a container ship the length of 4 football fields is crossing an ocean, using, at its core, the exact same principle as that dugout log in the Netherlands. Shape something to displace water, and the water will carry you. You will probably never think about the version of you that stood on a beach 65,000 years ago, watching people paddle toward a horizon they had never seen, with no idea what was on the other side, and going anyway. That decision is the reason there is no coastline left on Earth that a human being has not already stood on.